The repo truck rolled into Dale Hutchins's cornfield at 2:47 p.m. on a Thursday in October, and by the time the sun set 3 days later, Massey Ferguson's corporate office would be fielding calls from senators, ag journalists, and their own terrified regional dealers begging them to make it stop. But that Thursday afternoon, none of that had happened yet. Dale was 12 hours into his second straight 18-hour day, running his Massey Ferguson 9S.5 of 65 combine through 140-acre sections of corn that should have been off 2 weeks earlier. The delays weren't his fault. A derecho had ripped through McLean County, Illinois in late August, laying down 30% of his crop. What was supposed to be standing corn became a twisted ground-hugging nightmare that choked every header on every pass. He was fighting for every bushel. The 9S was earning its keep. That 565 horsepower Sisu engine was pulling through lodged corn that would have shut down lesser machines. Dale had run Case combines for 15 years before switching to Massey Ferguson. He'd done the math. The 9S gave him the capacity and the power to run a custom harvest operation across 3 counties. This machine was supposed to be his foundation for the next decade. He'd financed $485,000 of the $650,000 purchase price, and he was 60 days late on the payment. Not because he was reckless, not because he'd overextended on toys or lifestyle expenses. Dale ran 1,800 acres of his own ground and contracted another 4,200 acres for neighboring operations. His cash flow was solid in a normal year, but the derecho had cut his yield projections by 35%. And the contracts he'd signed for custom work were all backloaded. Payment on delivery. He'd get current the moment his customer's grain hit the elevator. He'd called Massey Ferguson Financial Services 4 times in September, explained the situation, asked for a 60-day extension, submitted his contracts as proof of incoming revenue. They said they'd review it. They never called back. What they did instead was send a repo crew. Dale saw the flatbed truck bouncing across the field access road, and his stomach dropped before his brain could process why. You know that truck. You know what it's doing here. He throttled down the 9S, watching the white Ford F-550 with the hydraulic deck bed roll closer. A man in a high-vis vest stepped out, carrying a clipboard. Dale climbed down from the cab. Dale Hutchins? That's me. I'm here on behalf of MF Financial Services to recover the 2022 Massey Ferguson 9S Combine, serial number. He glanced at his paperwork. MF 9S 23047. You're in default on your equipment loan. I need the keys. Dale felt the blood leave his face. You're taking it now? Yes, sir. I've got 600 acres left to cut. My customers are waiting. I've got contracts. The repo man didn't look happy about it, but he didn't look conflicted either. I understand that, but I've got a court order. This equipment is being recovered due to non-payment. If you interfere, law enforcement will be contacted. Dale looked back at the 9S, still idling in the field, half a hopper full of corn. He thought about the 3 farmers waiting on him to finish their ground. He thought about the $127,000 in custom harvest revenue he was about to lose if he couldn't finish the season. He thought about his wife Laura and their 2 kids. I can get current in 2 weeks. I've got the contracts. I've got the income. I just need to finish. Sir, I don't make the decisions. I just recover the equipment. Keys, please. Dale handed them over. He stood there in the dirt and watched them chain the combine onto the flatbed. Watched them secure the header. Watched them drive his entire operation off his farm in the middle of harvest. His phone started ringing before they hit the county road. It was Tom Schafer, one of his custom clients. Dale, I just saw them towing your combine past my place. What the hell's going on? Dale explained it. The missed payments, the extension request that went nowhere, the repo crew showing up mid-harvest. There was a long silence on the other end. Then Tom said, "That's the most chicken shit thing I've ever heard." "Yeah, you got AAA towing out of Bloomington?" "I think so. White flatbed, Ford 550. I know the outfit. They contract for all the ag lenders. Dale, hang tight. I'm making some calls." Tom Schafer hung up and did something that Massey Ferguson Financial Services should have considered before they sent that repo truck into a harvest field in the middle of rural Illinois. He picked up his CB radio. In farm country, CB radio isn't a relic. It's infrastructure. Every operator running equipment has one. It's how you coordinate grain cart movements, warn about road traffic, and talk to your neighbors when cell service drops in the bottom of a valley. It's how information moves faster than the internet. Tom keyed the mic. This is Schafer Farms on Channel 19. If you're running equipment in McLean, Livingston, or Woodford County, you need to hear this. He told them what happened to Dale Hutchins. He told them about the repo crew, about the timing, about the fact that Dale had contracts and income lined up, but got zero flexibility from MF Financial. He told them Dale was a good operator who'd been running clean, professional custom work for a decade. Then he said, if anybody wants to make a point, Dale's farm is at the corner of 2200 North and 1500 East. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He didn't ask anyone to show up. He didn't organize a protest. He just gave them the address. 16 minutes later, the first combine turned onto Dale's access road. It was a John Deere S790, driven by a farmer named Carl Whitmore, who'd never hired Dale for custom work and didn't owe him a thing. Carl had heard the CB call and he'd made a decision. He parked that Deere combine perpendicular across Dale's driveway, shut it down, pulled the key, and walked up to where Dale was standing in his yard. They ain't moving that repo truck past me, Carl said. You don't have to do this, Dale said. Yeah, I do. 5 minutes later, 2 more combines arrived, a Case IH 8250 and a New Holland CR 10.90. They parked behind Carl's Deere, forming a wall of iron across the access road. Then a Massey Ferguson 8740 showed up, driven by an operator named Jim Denton. He looked at Dale and said, I run MF equipment, love the brand, but what they did to you is wrong. He parked his combine next to the others. The sun was setting, and Dale's driveway looked like a dealer lot. Tom Schafer arrived in his pickup, followed by 4 more operators. They started setting up a rotation schedule. Someone brought coffee. Someone else brought a cooler full of sandwiches. By 9 p.m., there were 19 combines parked in a defensive perimeter around Dale's property. The repo company called Dale's phone. Mr. Hutchins, we've got your equipment secured at our impound yard. However, our driver is reporting that he's unable to leave your property due to interference. If those machines aren't moved, we'll contact law enforcement. Dale said, those aren't my machines. I can't move them. Then tell whoever owns them to move. They're not listening to me. The repo supervisor hung up and called the McLean County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Rick Howell took the call. He'd grown up in farm country. His dad ran a grain operation. He knew what harvest meant. He drove out to Dale's place, saw the wall of equipment, and talked to Tom Schafer. What's going on here, Tom? Tom explained the situation. Deputy Howell looked at the combines, looked at Dale, and then looked back at Tom. So nobody's threatening violence? Nobody's damaging property? No, sir. We're just parked. And you're not blocking a public road? This is a private access road on Dale's property. Deputy Howell nodded slowly. Then I don't see a crime. Repo companies got their equipment. You folks are on private property with the owner's permission. If they want you removed, they'll need a civil court order, and that'll take a few days. He got back in his cruiser and left. The repo company was furious, but there was nothing they could do. Their flatbed was stuck at the impound lot. The combine was secure. Legally, they'd completed the recovery. What happened after that wasn't their problem. It was Massey Ferguson's problem. By Friday morning, word had spread beyond CB radio. Someone had posted photos on Ag Talk, then Farm Chat, then Twitter. The images were striking. A wall of harvest equipment, Deere, Case, New Holland, Massey Ferguson, Gleaner, all parked in silent solidarity, blocking access to a family farm. The caption read, MF repoed a farmer's combine mid-harvest over a 60-day late payment. The neighbors showed up. It went viral in farm country. By noon, there were 47 combines parked around Dale's property. Operators were driving in from 2 counties over. Some of them didn't know Dale personally. They'd just heard the story and decided it mattered. A farmer from Livingston County brought his entire fleet, 3 combines, 2 grain carts, and a semi-truck. He parked them in Dale's front pasture and said, I'm staying until this gets fixed. Massey Ferguson's regional customer service line started ringing. Dealers were getting calls from angry customers asking if the repo story was true. Some of them were threatening to switch brands. A dealership in Pontiac, Illinois reported that 2 customers had canceled pending orders for MF planters, citing concerns about corporate treatment of small operators. The dealers panicked and called their territory managers. The territory managers called corporate, and corporate did what large companies always do when they're caught off guard by grassroots backlash. They issued a statement. It was posted on Massey Ferguson's official Twitter account at 3:22 p.m. on Friday. Massey Ferguson is aware of a situation involving equipment recovery in Illinois. We are reviewing the matter internally and are committed to working with our customers to find solutions during difficult circumstances. We value the farming community and the relationships we've built over decades. The farming community read it and responded with fury. One comment read, "You value us? You repoed a man's combine during harvest. That's not a situation. That's a betrayal." Another, "I've run MF equipment for 20 years. After this, I'm done, switching to Deere." Another, "Corporate double talk. Fix it or lose the Midwest." The story was picked up by DTN Progressive Farmer, Farm Journal, and Successful Farming. Agricultural journalists started digging into MF Financial Services policies. They found patterns. Other farmers came forward with stories of denied extensions, aggressive recovery tactics, and zero flexibility during disaster years. One farmer in Iowa reported that MF Financial had repoed his tractor 3 days after a tornado destroyed his machine shed. He'd asked for a 30-day extension to file an insurance claim. They refused. Another operator in Missouri said he'd been 60 days late after a combine fire, and instead of working with him, MF Financial flagged his account and threatened immediate recovery. The narrative was forming. Massey Ferguson doesn't care about small operators. They'll take your equipment in your moment of greatest need. It was a public relations disaster. By Saturday morning, there were 71 combines parked at Dale's farm. The aerial photos looked like a siege. Operators had brought campers and set up a rotation schedule. Wives were bringing food. Kids were playing in the fields. It had become a community event, and it still wasn't stopping. A farmer from Indiana drove 6 hours to park his combine in solidarity. He'd never met Dale Hutchins. He just wanted Massey Ferguson to see what happens when you humiliate one of your own customers during harvest. Someone set up a GoFundMe to help Dale cover his missed payment. It raised $48,000 in 18 hours. Local news stations arrived. They interviewed Tom Schafer, who said, "This isn't about one farmer. This is about corporate respect. You don't kick a man when he's down. You don't take his equipment during harvest. We're not moving until MF makes this right." The reporter asked, "What does making it right look like?" "Give him his combine back. Give him a payment extension. Apologize and change your policies so this doesn't happen to someone else." The segment aired on Saturday evening news across Illinois, Iowa, and Indiana. Massey Ferguson's phone lines were overwhelmed. Dealers were begging corporate to fix the situation. One dealership owner in Bloomington said, "I've got customers walking off my lot. I've got service contracts getting canceled. If you don't resolve this, you're going to lose the entire region." Corporate knew they'd lost control of the narrative. On Saturday night, a Massey Ferguson vice president of customer relations named Howard Milliken flew into Bloomington. He didn't announce his arrival. He just showed up at Dale's farm at 8:45 p.m., walked past the wall of combines, and asked to speak with Dale Hutchins. Dale met him in his kitchen. Laura was there. Tom Schafer was there. So was Carl Whitmore, the farmer who'd parked the first combine. Milliken didn't waste time. "Mr. Hutchins, I'm here to apologize. What happened to you should never have happened. Our financial services division has policies that are supposed to allow for hardship extensions, and those policies were not followed in your case. That's on us." Dale didn't say anything. He just waited. "We're prepared to return your combine immediately. We'll reinstate your loan with a 90-day extension, no penalties, no fees. Your account will be flagged as current, and we'll cover the cost of transporting the equipment back to your farm." Tom Schafer spoke up. "What about the others?" "Excuse me?" "The other farmers who got repoed during disasters. The guy in Iowa with the tornado. The guy in Missouri with the combine fire. You fixing their situations too?" Milliken hesitated. "We'll review those cases individually." "That's not good enough," Carl Whitmore said. You need a policy change. Something in writing that says you won't repo equipment during active harvest, during high recovery, or within 60 days of a documented catastrophe. You need to treat your customers like human beings, not account numbers. Milliken looked at the three farmers sitting across from him. He looked at Dale, who hadn't said a word yet. I'll take that recommendation back to leadership. Dale finally spoke. I don't want your apology. I want my combine. I want the extension, and I want you to prove this won't happen to someone else. If you're serious, you'll change the policy. If you're not, this is just damage control. Milliken nodded. I understand. Give me 72 hours. Sunday morning, Massey Ferguson issued a new statement. This one was different. Massey Ferguson acknowledges that our equipment recovery processes have caused harm to customers during critical work periods. Effective immediately, we are implementing the following policy changes. 1. No equipment recovery will occur during active planting or harvest seasons without a minimum 30-day notice and documented alternative arrangements. 2. Customers facing federally declared disaster impacts will receive automatic 90-day payment extensions upon request. 3. All recovery decisions during hardship periods will require review by regional management and customer advocacy teams. We apologize to Mr. Dale Hutchins and any other customers who have been negatively impacted by our previous policies. We are committed to supporting the agricultural community, not adding to their burdens. It was signed by Massey Ferguson's president of North American Agriculture. The statement was picked up by every major ag news outlet. The response from the farming community was cautious but appreciative. One farmer commented, "I'll believe it when I see it enforced, but it's a start." Another, "This is what happens when you stand together. Corporate listened because we made them listen." By Sunday afternoon, Dale's combine was back on his farm. Massey Ferguson had paid for expedited transport. The machine was inspected, fueled, and ready to run. The wall of combines began to disperse. Operators shook Dale's hand. Some of them stayed for a cookout Laura organized in the front yard. It felt like a county fair, except everyone there had risked their own schedules and their own harvest to defend a principle. Tom Schafer stood with Dale near the machine shed, watching the last few combines roll out. "You think they'll actually follow through?" Tom asked. "I don't know," Dale said, "but if they don't, we'll know what to do." Tom smiled. "Yeah, we will." Dale finished his harvest 16 days later. The delays had cost him, but the custom contracts came through. His clients paid on delivery, just like they'd promised. He got current on his loan. The 9S ran flawlessly through the rest of the season, processing 4,800 acres of corn and soybeans without a single major breakdown. By December, Massey Ferguson's new policies were being tested. A farmer in Nebraska requested a disaster extension after an early blizzard damaged his equipment. MF Financial approved it within 48 hours. A farmer in Kansas fell behind after a health emergency. Instead of sending a repo crew, MF Financial contacted him directly, worked out a restructured payment plan, and gave him 120 days to recover. The policy changes were real, and every time a farmer shared a story about MF Financial working with them instead of against them, someone would comment, "Remember Dale Hutchins. Remember the '89 combines. That's why this is happening." Dale never asked for the attention. He didn't want to be famous. He just wanted to finish his harvest and take care of his family. But what happened in that Illinois cornfield in October became a turning point. It proved that when corporate power oversteps, rural communities can fight back. Not with lawyers, not with lobbyists, just with solidarity. 89 combines, 72 hours. One farmer who refused to be invisible. Massey Ferguson got their payment. But the farming community got their dignity back. And in the end, dignity is worth more than any machine.